Hey, this is Ron Keel, the Metal Cowboy, and you're listening to Zach Martin at ZachMartinRocks.com.
And on Tick Radio, along with KKNH, KKDJ, and New HD in New York. Ron, it's great to talk to you again. What have you been up to since the last time we've spoken?
Awesome. Great to talk to you too, Zach. Reporting for duty, looking forward to our conversation. It has been a while, and I have been up to the same thing, man. You know, same life, different year, and of course, dealing with the challenges that 2020 has presented and adapting as best we can. But really proud of the new album, South by South Dakota. I hope to talk about that with you today, and the changing climate and our business and our culture and all that's going on in the world that's affecting you, me, and all of our listeners.
Ay, caramba. If I was to say to you last year when we talked that 2020 we would have an impeachment followed by COVID-19, followed by lockdown, followed by trucks filled with dead bodies in my area that my daughter unfortunately witnessed and has psychologically scarred her, probably for life, I can only imagine.
Wow.
Then having the issues with China and what else? Oh, the civil unrest throughout the United States, changing of names, the council culture, the economy collapsing. If I was to predict all of that, well, it'd be amazing. I'd be a new time Nostradamus, but everybody would have said I was nuts, right?
Absolutely. And it just goes to show you, Zach, we can't predict the future. Nobody knows what's going to happen next week, next month, next year. And that's why I live each day to the fullest and enjoy my life and every opportunity, every song, every relationship, every discussion, everything that I treasure, because you never know, man. Nothing is guaranteed. We're all on a one-day contract, and that's why today is the best day of my life until tomorrow. It has been certainly, a crazy time, and putting it in perspective, I'm pushing 60, and I grew up in a time of unrest in the 60s and the 70s. I mean, we had the threat of nuclear Armageddon hanging over our heads every day of my childhood. We were taught to hide under our desks in case the Russians launched the missiles. I saw, the assassination of John F. Kennedy was my first exposure to mainstream media. And so, it has been more of the same this year. I know that people keep thinking it's getting worse and, the end is near and all that. But, man, the end was near 50 years ago when I was a kid. So you just don't know. And that's why the music, to me, is that much more important now than ever, because it does give me the ability to live my life and be happy and take care of my family and enjoy myself and enjoy the relationships with my band, my crew, my wife, my fans. But it has been, the whole planet's been a mess as long as I've been alive, and 2020 is just taking it to 11, so to speak.
Well, what's really funny, I'm thinking about everything you're telling me, and I'm nodding my head. I'm like, yep, I understand. I can relate. And of all the problems that we have going on throughout this world of ours, we fight over the use of a face mask. I mean, this is what it's come down to, Just it's just I'm dumbfounded.
Yeah, I mean, that is the most disturbing development of all, Zach. And yeah, the virus is a bitch. The civil unrest is very disturbing. All of the things that you mentioned are certainly a cause for alarm. But I think the worst thing to me is that we're all fighting and pitted against each other.
Right.
And it is a constant struggle to maintain that, that objectivity. I have a lot of friends in the business and in my family that don't agree with my beliefs or my views. I've got people on my band and crew and my team that some are Trump supporters, some are liberals, some are Christians, some are atheists. We accept each other's differences. And I think that's the way that it should be. Unfortunately, with social media now being a double-edged sword that slices both ways at our hearts and at our minds, it is increasingly more difficult to maintain that objectivity and just roll with it. If somebody doesn't like what you like, that's cool. If they don't believe what you believe, that's cool. That's what freedom was all about. And I think Facebook and the internet is conspiring to take that freedom away from us.
Oh, I think Facebook is a real sewer. Nothing gets accomplished. And here's one thing I don't understand. Why does everybody think that they have to get their point across, tell everybody how they feel about an issue? And if you don't like it, lump it kind of attitude, I'm going to block you. If you disagree with them, you're a bigot. You get labeled, basically. Bigot is the first thing that comes to mind. Not that I've been labeled that way. But I see that going anytime somebody gets to the point of exasperation in this discussion that takes place on any Facebook post, the final thing is some sort of insult. Because at that point, I think the person that cast the first insult is the biggest loser of that. Because obviously, to me, in a game of chess, like, you just lost, because that's what you had to revert to. I've seen too many people just get killed on social media, just tweeting the dumbest things. So, a little advice, anybody listening to Ron Keel and Zach Martin here, think before you post. That's it. And
I agree. And, I think it's cool that everybody gets a voice now. When I was growing up, there was no way to really be heard. You had our fans, and I still have boxes of these from back in the 80s, when the fans would have to write a letter. They'd sit down and handwrite a fan letter and tell you, hey, man, I love your music. This is my favorite album, and these are my favorite songs, and I can't wait to see you in concert in New York or whatever. And they'd write you a fan letter. They'd have to put that in the mail, lick the envelope, lick the stamp, put it in the box, and you get it, weeks later. Now everybody has a voice at the touch of their fingertips, and how you use that voice is really important. And I try not to, and I have to be walking that tightrope of not. I don't want to offend anybody, but Zach, isn't that part of rock and roll in the first place? Wasn't Chuck Berry offensive? Wasn't Elvis offensive? They couldn't even show his hips on TV. The Beatles were the devil. Everybody's parents thought that the Beatles were the spawn of Satan, and they were offensive to that generation. And now, man, you even if you don't express yourself in an offensive manner, you're offensive just because people don't agree with you.
Or you're offensive if you don't even mention anything about the issue that they're arguing about. How come you've got nothing to say? Well, I don't want to say anything. I don't think that anybody has ever solved any problems on Facebook. Here's another thing about Facebook and social media. In regards to medical advice, don't get your medical advice on Facebook. If you're really unsure whether you should go to the hospital or not, because you're unsure that you should go to the hospital or not, that unsurety means go to the hospital. How about that? Ask medical professionals.
Well, I use the Google Doc all the time to check on myself, and I'm actually very healthy, and I'm feeling fine and ready to rock and roll. So thank God for my personal diagnosis. But, I agree with you, man. Like I said, it's a double-edged sword. It's great to be able to relate with our fans and share our music and entertain people on that platform. And I do it every day. But it does have its drawbacks, and it shows the uglier side of life as well. But just like music or any type of entertainment, movies or books or albums, you've got to look for the good stuff. You can find it anywhere. There's good. I still believe in the goodness of people and the power of positive thinking, and the fact that I do have so many amazing fans that are always supportive and positive and enjoying what we're doing. And I love sharing that stuff with them. If I can use Facebook to do it, I'm there.
Yeah, in this day and age, it's pretty much the only thing we got going for us, because the touring season is shut down probably until 2021. And then the question when everybody goes back out on the road is up in the air right now. But let's focus on some of the positive things. Well, what are you doing?
Not for me. And we are about to embark on a 5-week tour here in just a couple of weeks. And I understand the difference in the regions across America, at least. Obviously, I just got back from Australia a few months back, and Melbourne's shut down again. I'm not going to New York. I'm not going to LA. I'm not going to Texas, unfortunately, this year. And our tour of Canada was canceled because of COVID-19. But I happen to be in an area or a region that is least affected by the pandemic and the social unrest here in the wild, wild Midwest. I'm based in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, and South Dakota's been in the news. Our governor has been quite prominent in the media, and people may may not realize it, but South Dakota never shut down. We had guidelines. We used responsibility and common sense, but South Dakota never shut down. And I'm able to string together a wonderful run of shows starting August 2nd at the Sioux Empire Fair, the big fair here in Sioux Falls, where we'll have probably 5,000 to 10,000 people out there in front of us. And then we head to Sturgis. The Sturgis Motorcycle Rally is on.
Oh,
and
yeah,
we'll
good.
be performing 5 shows there at a couple of different venues, at Kickstands and at Glencoe Camp Resort. We've got 5 shows lined up for the Sturgis Rally, and that's kind of like our residency, where our people come from all over the country to descend upon Sturgis once a year. It's the 80th anniversary of the rally, and those hardworking, hard-partying, all-American bikers, certainly a big part of our core audience. So we're excited about the shows in Sturgis. Then we've got a couple of big shows in Ohio at a couple of festival events, the Smokin' Country Saloon Bike Rally. It's a 9-day event with us, Every Mother's Nightmare, Texas Hippie Coalition, and some great acts, a 9-day festival event. And the following night, after we get done headlining opening night of the Smokin' Country Saloon Bike Rally, we head to the Ballpark Bash in Kenton, Ohio, which is just outside of Cleveland. And these are 2 big outdoor festival events that we're headlining. But we also, for those fans in New York and LA and Japan and Europe and Australia that can't get to those shows, we are doing a big, major, full production online concert. Now, this is not a living room concert. We're setting up the whole stage, 6 cameras, pro audio, pro video, and we are broadcasting that live stream worldwide on Tuesday, August 18th. And that's our way to reach all the fans that we can't reach on tour. We've got some great shows lined up. We've got 4 or 5 weeks worth of fantastic activity on stage in front of the people and out there on the road here in the Midwest, where it's still relatively safe, and the events are well planned, and most of them are outside, of course. So we were able to salvage some of the 2020 touring season, and this has been a source of controversy for me, especially the last couple of days, as I'm taking some heat for doing shows from people that tell me that I'm putting my fans and my band and my crew at risk. It's a very touchy subject, and I've been engaged in some online debates about that, Zach.
Whatever.
The fact is that the gigs are happening, and it's not just us, man. Dawkins playing this weekend. Lita Ford's playing at the rally. Toby Keith is touring. There's a lot going on. The touring season has not been canceled. Just because Motley Crue and Def Leppard canceled their stadium tour doesn't mean the rest of us are all going to sit home for the next 8 months and worry about what's going on. We're going to get out there and we're going to rock and roll. We're going to have a good time and let the chips fall. Because like you said, and I said at the top of this interview, we don't know what's going to happen next month, next week, or next year. We got to live it up before we lay it down.
That's right. And let's face it, the governor of South Dakota is a big fan of yours.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of hers as well. I actually got to meet her. She came into the booth when I was doing my radio gig, and just an amazing woman. A lot of energy, charisma, and character, and was fortunate to meet her while I was on the air one day. She just walked into the booth and wanted to see what we were doing, and I'm a big fan of hers. And,
yeah, she's cool.
She is indeed. Yeah. Christy Nome for president 2024.
Yeah, how about her as a like a Farrah Fawcett style poster as well? I mean, she could do that. She could pull it off.
Yeah, she's smoking hot too, by the way.
That's what I was getting at. You said it, not me. Anyway, regard to the whole touring and going on stage and doing these shows, let's face it, and I don't mean to sound controversial, but if we don't have a problem with mass gatherings for whatever it might be, and people using their masks or staying, social distant from others, then I don't have a problem with people getting together for concerts either, especially if they're outdoor. What's the big
that's
deal?
the common consensus, Seth.
Yeah.
That's why I think those protests were a big catalyst for concert events getting back in action, because everybody in the business, the fans, the bands, the concert promoters, everybody said, well, they can do it. Why can't we do it? Right. And I think it was a catalyst. I think if we hadn't had the protests and the riots, we wouldn't have as many shows on the books right now.
I guess there's something to it. Plus, I haven't seen any spike as a result of these quote unquote protests, but we'll drop that now. What else is the Ron Keel band up to? What is the new album again?
The new album is South by South Dakota, and I'm so proud of this record. And I've really enjoyed, after the album came out in April, and then being able to listen to it and enjoy it and promote it with interviews like this one. It's really given me a huge different perspective on this project, because unlike any album I've ever done in my 35 plus year career, this one was totally unplanned. It was absolutely organic and very natural how it happened in the studio when the guys and I were just jamming, working on the sessions for last year's fight like a band album. And we would warm up with, some classic Southern rock covers. The first song we cut was, and we didn't even know we were recording. We just warmed up and got levels and headphone mixes with Flirting with Disaster. Let's crank that out. Everybody get their headphone mix dialed in or whatever. And we went through the tune. And then at the end of the day, I think we did Rocket Into the Night after we'd had a few cocktails and were spent for the day, but we still want to play some music together. And so we were just having fun in the studio, playing music that we loved and enjoying each other's company and enjoying the songs and the music. And we didn't even know that our producer, Mike Dresch, was recording. After about 3 or 4 days of this, he goes, Ron, I've been tracking this stuff, right? Let me hear it back. And he played me a few of the rough tracks that we had been recording those last few days, and I knew we had something really special. Like I said, it was very organic and unintentional, and sometimes those are the most magical moments you can get. Well, after we got 4 or 5 tracks like that, I go, man, this could be the foundation for a really cool Southern rock tribute album, and we could include, on top of these 4 or 5 songs we've got, we could throw in Ghost Riders in the Sky, which was our debut single back in 2015, produced by Henry Paul from The Outlaws. And we could throw in Homesick, which was our summer single in 2017. We've got a couple of live tracks in the bank, and we've actually got a bunch of great live cuts done, and the Creedence Clearwater Revival medley that closes out the record is a perfect exclamation point to the entire album, because it was recorded live at our very first show ever, the first time this band ever stepped on stage together. So the entire album is like an audio scrapbook for us of the last 5 years, and also a great tribute to the iconic bands that really define that genre of Southern rock: the Outlaws, Marshall Tucker Band, Molly Hatchet, Leonard Skinner, the Allman Brothers, and so much more. So I'm really excited about the new album. I'm very proud of the response that we've gotten. It was a no-brainer to put it out, but then all of a sudden, going back to the COVID again, all of a sudden we got this pandemic happening when we were set to release the album in April, and Bill Chavis, the head of High Vol Music, our record company, talked very briefly about this. Should we delay the release or not? And we both said, no, hell no. The world needs this music right now. Our fans need this music. This is comfort food for the soul, comfort food for the ears, and it's going to be the soundtrack of 2020, no matter what happens. And at that time, we didn't even know, and we still don't, what was happening. Releasing Red, White, and Blue, the Skynyrd song, which is our tribute to Skynyrd. That's the first single and video. And we wrestled with it just for a moment and realized, man, we've got to put this out. It's got to happen. But the hardest part then was for me to do interviews like this one and try and promote the record and encourage fans and consumers to shell out their hard-earned money for this, because so many of our friends and neighbors and fans are out of work and facing very difficult times and difficult decisions. How do you ask them to spend money on your album? That was the toughest part for me. So we did the best we could with a great package, an 8-panel fold-out with beautiful photography and a fold-out full-color poster that comes in the CD. And the packaging is absolutely world-class, the best-looking album release I've ever done on CD anyway. And we tried to bring the price down to where it was as economical as possible. And now for $15.98, you get the album signed at ronkeel.com. You get the signed poster, the signed album, a free sticker, the whole deal for less than $16. And so we tried to make it as economically feasible as possible for those folks that are having a tough time this year.
Oh, wow. That's really good. And you kept the price underneath $20, so that's a good deal. I love the fact that you covered Leonard Skinner's Red, White, and Blue. I think that was their modern Freebird. tune. When they put that out, I guess in the '90s sometime.
It was 2003 when that song was a top 30 hit for
Right.
Skynyrd and kind of flew under the radar for a lot of people. Myself at the time, Donnie and Johnny Van Zant wrote the song with the Warner Brothers right after the 9/11 attack.
Oh, I see. Well,
So it was a personal statement for Skynyrd at the time and a fairly big hit for them. But I think that song resonates now in 2020 and beyond just as strongly as it did back then. And we're also super excited about the new music video for the track because we had to create this video clip for Red, White, and Blue under the pandemic quarantine lockdown circumstances. So nobody in the band could be in the same room together during the filming. So I took everybody to a different iconic location throughout South Dakota. I got Mount Rushmore, and we had just an amazing experience filming the video in places where, like Mount Rushmore, on the day that I shot my footage, it was a beautiful spring day in South Dakota in April. Absolutely beautiful. The first really nice day we had in spring, and there was nobody there. On Saturday afternoon at Mount Rushmore, it was absolutely empty. I really got my free run of the place. There was nobody at the parking gate. When you go in, it's free to park. The parking lot was empty. I just walked in there with my guitar and sang the song a few times and filmed it. The keyboard footage that our keyboardist Dakota Scott filmed here in Sioux Falls at a place called Terrace Park, which is where we do an annual charity concert. We're doing it next month. It's called Jam Against Hunger, where we help Feeding South Dakota put food on the tables of those less fortunate. So we do this big gig there every year. We're used to seeing the place packed with kids playing in the playground and families picnicking. And, but I went there, again, a beautiful spring day in April on a Saturday. And I'm standing behind the keyboard player with the camera pointed out at this empty park. It's kind of like an outdoor amphitheater, and there's nobody there. So the video, I think it really shows that even though we might have been isolated by fate, we are standing united, and really, really proud of that clip. You can find that, of course, on our YouTube channel, and the links to all that stuff are at ronkeel.com.
Fantastic. You talk about fighting hunger. There was a video I saw on Facebook just the other day. Now, let me just premise this by saying, and I think we're friends on Facebook, I'm not sure, but you probably have noticed I never post on Facebook because no matter what I post, even if it's a cute little baby or a duck, I get some sort of complaints. So I'm like, all right, I'm out of here. But I did see something that was disturbing. I saw that farmers, I guess it must have been in Idaho, couldn't get their potatoes to the market. So they dug a gigantic hole and they buried the potatoes. And I'm thinking to myself, what a waste. These potatoes could feed so many people throughout this world of ours. Can't we do better? And the reason why they couldn't ship the potatoes is because they didn't have trucking available and all of those different things it takes to get from the farm to the dinner table. And I thought to myself, I keep hearing how great these billionaires and soon-to-be trillionaires are, like Bezos and Gates and this guy and that guy, how great they are, right? How come nobody's sat and figured out how to take those potatoes, give some money to the farmers so that they can keep going because it's important for them to be able to take care of their bills and ship them, even if we have to use the National Guard to bring potatoes throughout the United States to make sure that everybody has food on the table? What is wrong with this country? What is wrong with the people that look around them? They're only concerned about their little geographic location or how the world affects them specifically. And this kind of stuff disturbs me. I know that you've always been a social conscious kind of guy, and I'm bringing this up because I think that people like you and I, when we see the problem, we can't assume that somebody else is going to take care of it or point in the direction of it and say, hey, look, over there. At least I'm saying, now listen what I said. There's food going to waste, and then I gave you an idea how we can push it out, right? Use the National Guard.
Yeah.
So it's not like I'm just criticizing. I'm just giving ideas of what we can do. How come we don't have politicians and leaders and, if Bruce Springsteen's going to open his mouth about anything, open your mouth about stuff like that to alleviate suffering instead of, making a target a political figure and saying that this person is totally to blame for everything that's going on wrong around us.
Well, that is disturbing on a number of levels. I did not see the post you're talking about. I do live in South Dakota, as I mentioned, and our number one industry in this region is agriculture. A lot of our friends, fans, and family are farmers here in the Midwest, and truckers as well. And I know the trucks are rolling, the wheels are turning. And the farmers have been hard hit by not only that, but by the severe floods we've had here the past couple of years, and the economic, just the disaster that they're all going through. The scary thing is, Zach, is not only this generation and these people that are hungry today, but what about 10 years from now, 20 years from now, when these kids grow up, they see their dad digging that hole and burying the potatoes, going, man, well, these kids aren't going to go into farming. They're going to go play video games, or they're going to go somewhere else. They're not going to be farmers 10 years from now, 20 years from now. That just like there's not going to be any cops, because who wants to be a cop? Why would I want to do that?
Nope.
This young generation is not going to grow up to provide that infrastructure that our grandkids are going to need. Farmers, cops, they're all in big trouble. And of course, we do what we can to support our first responders, the men and women in blue, the farmers that are here busting their ass in the fields to try and take the food from their crop to the truck to our table. And this Feeding South Dakota show that we do every year, it's a big deal, man. We've raised tens of thousands of tons of food for people throughout our region every year. It's called Jam Against Hunger. Always a collection of the greatest talent that this region has to offer. We're proud to be headlining that show again this year. And our previous record is over 50,000 pounds or 50,000 tons, sorry, of food. But there's a difference between a pound and a ton.
All right.
So yeah, we're thinking big, and we're really proud to be a part of this show. It's our home, and these are our people, and we got to do our best to take care of them, no matter what the cause is. I enjoy doing what I can, and I'm not Bruce Springsteen, man. But I do what I can. I also enjoy my activities with a charity called Guitars for Vets.
Yep.
That's guitars, the number 4, vets.com or .org. Guitars for Vets provides free guitars and free guitar lessons. And now we're doing online lessons, of course, during these times to our veterans with PTSD. And I'm extremely proud to be involved in that program for the past 6 years and putting the healing power of music in the hands of our heroes. That's the mission behind Guitars for Vets. And I'm really proud of just being able to contribute and do what I can for those in need. And that's part of our honor as people in the entertainment business, as celebrities, or whatever you want to call it. Not only it makes me feel good, it certainly it brings joy to my heart just to be able to do some of these small things that I try and do, and we appreciate the opportunities.
Well, if everybody did a small thing, it would be a big, impactful, collaborative effort. If everybody just did a little thing, it's sort of like, when people get together and they decide to clean the beach here in New Jersey. If one person does it, it's never going to get done. But you get 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. Before you know it, everybody does a little square, and it's completely clean. So we could do these kind of things. If you're a veteran and you're having a crisis right now, you can call the Veterans Crisis Line. It's 24/7, 1-800-273-8255. That number again is 1-800-273-8255. If you're really feeling bad and you're considering suicide, call that number or tweet me, Zach at ZachMartinRocks.com. Direct message me, or even Ron Keel. I'm sure he'd be available to you. Get in touch with us. Talk it out. Don't make that fatal mistake. I mean, you gotta get the help. It's not something you should be embarrassed about. And Ron, just so you know, the difference between a person that doesn't commit suicide and one who does commit suicide is just that person in the moment. In other words, there's no real difference of who it happens to. Elvis Presley's grandson just committed suicide a day ago, I guess. So let's do a better job of loving their neighbor and being more present for people in need. That number again is 1-800-273-8255. Make sure you go to ronkeel.com. Check out everything he's got going on. The Jam for Hunger is a big deal. And Ron, if you can reach your governor and tell her my idea of how we can get the food from farm country to the other areas throughout the United States, especially. There are poor people in New York City. There are poor people in Newark and Passaic, in New Jersey, and California, all over the place. We have more than enough food to feed just about everybody that's in our, within our borders. So we got to do a better job. And maybe if you can convey that idea, let's get the National Guard involved and, defend our country by feeding our people. It's a really good thing to do. Who's going to complain about that?
Absolutely, Zach.
Right?
Well said and well done. And we'll continue to do whatever we can.
Yeah, I know. And you also have a program that helps musicians. This is something that we talked about last year, and I've been thinking about it just about every day, especially when I see some of our old rocker friends posting that, well, they're really affected by the lockdown because they can't go out and earn a living. And you would think some of these guys in these major bands would be set for life. But the reality of the situation, just because you have the platinum record, the gold record on the wall doesn't mean you have any money in the bank. You want to talk about this misunderstanding about being a rocker and having a hit record or being part of a great band, but not having enough money to take care of your family or take care of your medical benefits?
I think that's a great topic, Zach. And I think every circumstance or individual is different and really depends on what you've done with whatever money that you've made. And I don't know that if that's limited to entertainers or people in the business. Obviously, we see a lot of athletes that had multi-million-dollar sports contracts, and now they're broke and homeless as well. And I don't have an answer to that or how to fix that. The misconception is, yes, that if I'm famous, I must be rich, and that's not always the case. There are a lot of rich people that aren't famous. There's a lot of famous people that aren't rich, and rich comes from not only the amount of zeros in your bank account, but it comes from the heart, the love that you feel for your kids and your loved ones, and the love that people feel for you. I do believe that I am rich beyond my wildest dreams, although I do not have all those zeros in the bank account. But it's difficult to succeed in this business now, and it's even more difficult than it's ever been. For the first time in my life, I'm getting royalty checks that are in there. It's almost a joke, $1.90, or I've gotten one on my desk right now upstairs for 3 cents. And what are you going to do? What are you going to do with that? I mean, you can't even deposit it. I'm not going to the bank to deposit a 3 cent check. But it's the nature of our business. I've been lucky. I've worked really hard, and I've been very fortunate. And I've got a number of different activities that keep the wheels turning and keep food on the table, no pun intended, with my radio show, the live shows. The Patreon platform has been great for me, where we interact with subscribers online, worldwide, at patreon.com/Ron Keel. And I engage with the fans on that platform, and they get exclusive content, videos that nobody else gets to see, unreleased tracks, demos, interaction. We do live online chat each month. It's kind of like Netflix for rock stars. I mean, they pay a monthly fee of $7, and
That's cool.
They get literally all access, VIP access at shows and merch discounts and things like that. So you have to stay creative, and you have to keep working hard and try and find new ways to adapt in new times like these. And I just wish that, no kid deserves to go hungry, and none of this negative, violent behavior should be happening. And we all have to do what we can. And that starts by waking up every day, thinking positive and doing positive things.
Thank you very much, Ron Keel, for your time. RonKeel.com is where you'll find a new album. You'll find the merchandise. You'll find out what's going on. Jam for Hunger later on in August. A lot of goodies at RonKeel.com. Did I pretty much nail it? Did I get everything correct?
That's fantastic, Zach. I appreciate you and your listeners. God bless, and I'll talk to you again soon, I hope.